Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hormonally Speaking. We are talking today about one of my favorite areas. I've talked about it before on the podcast, and it's really dealing with something that is so important for hormones, and that is stress and what to do about stress, right? Because so many of us are under these stressful sort of situations that go back to maybe parts of our life that we don't necessarily remember or understand. And so how do you get to those areas and how do you work with those areas on a different levels so that your hormones can balance out? So we're going to be talking about that today and a lot more. My guest is Monica Obando, who is a Colombian-born American industrial designer by profession who discovered her passion for helping others by becoming a clinical and transpersonal hypnotherapist. Her soul-searching journey took her to combine her love for the arts and her passion for yoga and hypnosis to create a new transformational modality that has helped thousands to create incredible life-changing breakthroughs. You can find her at monicaobando.com, on IG at Mobando. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you so much. And I'm so honored to be here in your podcast. It's amazing to be connected and being able to educate people about
Yeah.
hypnosis and how it can help with the hormones.
Yes. So let's start off with some basics for people that probably most people have heard of hypnosis, but they don't necessarily have the right idea about hypnosis or hypnotherapy. So give us just the basics of what it's all about and what it does.
Yes, so hypnosis pretty much is a changed state of awareness,
Hmm.
and it's an increased relaxation that
Hmm.
allows the people to improve their focus and improve that concentration that we all need. Because nowadays we are so unfocused, we are all the time in social media and cell phones and running here and there that we are unable to focus, we are unable to concentrate. So
Hmm.
hypnosis is really, really good therapy to do that, to help you do that, and to help you connect to your own self.
And so people that maybe have an idea of, someone getting on a stage and being hypnotized, what's the difference really between what's going on there and what you do?
That is actually one of the biggest misconceptions that I get. The question that I always ask: am I going to be doing the barking like a dog or jumping or stuff like that, like in a stage hypnosis? And that's totally different because obviously stage is for a public, for it's a scenario for people to
Hmm.
see, to laugh, to enjoy that
Hmm.
moment.
Hmm.
So, but the idea here in therapy is that you are never going to be under anybody's power. You're never going to be fully asleep or anything like that. On the contrary, while in hypnosis, in the therapy session, you're
Hmm.
going to be, your senses are going to be more acute.
Hmm.
Everything is going to be more open, and we are able to access the subconscious mind where you have everything stored, the memories, everything without any emotion. So
Hmm.
that's where we are tapping into the past, the situations, the experiences that you had that created a trauma, that created something in you that you now feel that you need to change. So
Hmm.
obviously it's completely different, and in those moments is where you can access
Hmm.
there are many so much information
Hmm.
within that you had, some memories that you even forgot about it. Some people come to my practice and they say, I don't remember anything of my childhood, or maybe from 5 years prior, I don't remember anything. So you're blocking so many memories or experiences that were negative to you and
Hmm.
created traumas, that they created so many bad emotions within that you don't
Hmm.
want to remember. So hypnosis
Hmm.
is really helpful to going back and help you remember all that stuff.
Yeah. And I just want to say from personal experience, I did sort of, I call it regular talk therapy, for probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in my 20s. And I remember at the end of that seeing a hypnotherapist, right? And what happened in one session of hypnotherapy, like you were just saying, these memories that came back during that session. And I remember it feeling very interesting because I remembered remembering those memories, but I hadn't actually had the remembrance of those in so long, right? So it was like
Yes.
that
Mhm.
happened as a kid, and I can remember as a kid having those memories, but then they, whatever, life took over, and we kind of pushed those things down. And so that was what was so powerful to me about that situation, right? You're like, oh,
Yes.
wow, we really are such a whole world inside of ourselves that we don't even know, right?
realize exactly, and not only visiting those memories but having the opportunity to transform them,
Right.
because
Right.
obviously at the time you blocked them for a reason, because you didn't want to go back and visit them, and because it made you feel stressful and
Right.
feeling emotional and feeling those negative emotions, bringing everything back. But going back and seeing it, reliving it,
Mm-hmm.
transforming it, is that's the beauty of this kind of
Mm-hmm.
therapy.
Mm-hmm. And it really does connect to so much of who we are in adults, right? Those things that happen as kids that we may have, suppressed those memories. And we don't realize that as we're moving through our everyday lives as adults, they are impacting
Absolutely.
how we pattern, how we, react in relationships, how our hormones are going to be, on a
Yes.
daily basis. And
Yes.
and I would say, it's so interesting, just within my practice, I see, in our 20s, often we're able to kind of push past a lot of things, right? And just kind of be in this go, go, go mode, that our bodies are sort of primed to do that. And then you get in your 30s and you're still able to do that, maybe not to the extent, but then as your 30s creep in, it gets harder and harder to do that push past everything, right? And
Yes.
to sort of make your body continue to do things that it's just not interested in doing anymore, right? And so
Yes, the problem too.
yep. And so certainly when you get into your 40s, that's when we start to see so many hormonal issues, because it's been this buildup of years, right? And sort of running, I don't want to say running away from things, but just filling your life so much that you don't necessarily connect to those things that
Yes.
are
Hmm.
really impacting your hormones.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But like you say, running away perhaps is not the way to say it, but it's
Right.
the way to say it,
Right.
because the problem is that that's what we're doing. We are running away. There are so many outlets that we use: drugs, alcohol, sex,
Hmm.
many
Hmm.
things that we use to that way we can isolate completely from the reality who we truly are.
Hmm.
So that's the problem too. When people are meditating, so many people, they don't even want to try to
Yeah.
meditate,
Yeah.
because meditations means sitting down, being quiet, and connecting to the inner self. So that's where the inner critic, the inner judgment, everything comes to, and you don't want to hear those voices. You don't want to be
Hmm.
connected to that stuff, because that makes you suffer. But the
Yeah.
problem is that you don't realize that as you bypass the suffering, because in reality, that's not suffering, it's who you truly are. And you need to observe, you need to go dig deep within your soul and see what exactly is happening. And then you bypass that and you find peace, clarity, freedom completely from that
Yeah.
baggage that you keep carrying. Because that's
Yeah.
that's something that, as we grow, we become programmed. That's the problem. Become programmed by our parents, family members, teachers, school, everything around us from 0 to 7 years old is programming.
Hmm.
And usually those programs are wrong, are the sadness, the anxiety, the fear, the stress, all that stuff. And that makes a little kid confused, totally confused. As we keep growing up, we don't have the tools, the emotional tools to confront, to live the life that we truly want. So we create
Hmm.
a false sense of personality. So that's
Hmm.
hypnotherapy good for, because it helps you to remove all those layers of pain, of sadness, of fear, all those negative emotions, and help you find in reality who you truly are.
I love that. And I love thinking about, particularly as women get into their 40s and start hitting perimenopause, as a time of life that says, "Hey, come back to yourself." We're it's in some ways a forced way of coming back to yourself, because you have to pay attention to your body on a different level because of the fluctuating hormones, right? All of these
Mhm.
symptoms come up, and I so often say this to clients, it's like you can eat all the right foods, you can take all the right supplements, you can do the movement, but if you have these traumas that are underlying, that are waiting to be heard, things aren't it's not going to give until you really work with them. And
Exactly.
yeah, and I think that's why hypnotherapy is so
Hmm.
powerful.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
tell us how you actually got into it in the first place.
I moved from Colombia back more than 2 decades ago. So when
Hmm.
I moved here, it was because of the political situation, the financial situation, and many things. And at the same time, my emotional state, I wasn't feeling good enough in there. My self-esteem was really low. So
Hmm.
I thought that moving to another country,
Hmm.
everything was supposed to leave, to be left behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and I was thinking that I was supposed to start a new life, and the joy and freedom, stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I was so wrong, because everything comes with me, because
Followed
it's
you.
within
Yeah.
everything.
Yep.
So that's when I realized And even worse, because at the time I didn't speak the language, I didn't have the culture. So it was a crash in a way, but it was a good crash because I allowed me to grow within, allowed me to show my true self, my grit, because we go to where we want to go and we can do it. So everybody can do it. Is depending on how far you want to go and how much are you willing to give to get where you want to go. So back in 2011, I was suffering from arthritis. My body, wasn't working really at all. My joints were in so much pain. So I started doing bee sting therapy. So that therapy, that was really good. I did it for 7 months and I no more pain after that. Really good therapy, but barbaric. A lot of pain, a lot of pain.
Intense. Yeah.
And then
you're like going right for the jugular.
I know. And then, like you say, I changed the way I ate. I changed so many things, but then I started digging deep and I realized after studying and learning more about emotions, I discovered that holding anger, grudges towards somebody makes you feel stiff, like you cannot move. So that is the emotional part of the arthritis. So then I decided to join to become a yoga teacher. So when I was doing the yoga for that year, becoming a teacher, I had an epiphany and a moment that I was doing some movement. I removed some emotional scar that I had in my body, and so many things, many memories from when I was 5 years old came to my mind, and I discovered why my self-esteem was the way it was, and why I felt the way I felt. So it was like an epiphany. It was eye-opening at the moment. I cry, and everybody in the class, they were so kind. They hugged me, and it was a beautiful circle of souls healing each other. Then after, in 2015, I had the opportunity to, in 2014, I had the opportunity to go to school because I discovered hypnotherapy, rediscovered, because the first time that I heard about it was when I was 12 years old, that I read the book, Many Lives, Many Masters. So when I read it, I was, in love with that topic in particular. And then I was curious about it, and I found a school here in Tampa, in Florida, and I went to school, and then I became, the same day that I graduated, I just opened my practice without, thinking twice. I had a good job at the moment, but it wasn't fulfilling. I wasn't feeling, I was so miserable. So like, no, it was a leap of faith, pretty much. And it was good leap of faith, because then you start discovering your purpose in life, just serving others, helping others, and then learning about that, how you can helps you at the same time. So it's the giving and receiving dynamic, and is beautiful. And since then, I have seen so many people, women in particular, because I love to work with women, because we are the moms, we are the nurturers, we are the wives, we are, to me, we are the foundation of the world.
Absolutely. So what do a lot of those women come to you with initially? Are they saying, okay, I'm so stressed out, or what are kind of the big reasons?
Mainly anxiety, but anxiety, as always, is a consequence of something deeper. So that's the beauty of it, because you generalize, you say anxiety, but in reality, you don't even know. Right. So when we go back, they start discovering the many, many, many things that they had, like, oh my gosh, and they had the inner child that is so wounded in many different ways, in many different ages, in many different times, for many different reasons, that they are, those sessions are extremely emotional, extremely. That is courageous, for someone to go there. I always applaud them, because it's not easy to visit. We also, I always say, we have all shadows and demons, and we just push them away, put them in the closet, and we don't want to know about them, but they are banging and pushing you all the time. But when you open and embrace them and love them and recognize them for who they are, then they become, the shadow becomes the light, and then the demons become your angels. So it's love, pure love, because it's self-love, self-compassion, and that's the journey about.
So how long does it usually take, for these sort of shifts to happen within people?
Usually people, they see a shift in the first session
Mhm.
immediately. They
Mhm.
see it completely, because obviously you go in a level of frequency that is a lower frequency, that is the anxiety and
Mhm.
your aura and your body. So then when you remove layers of pain,
Mhm.
you obviously your frequency goes high, goes up.
Mhm.
So when
Mhm.
your frequency rises, you feel immediately different. So
Mhm.
people experience something that I call emotional hangover.
Mhm.
That is when they feel empty, but
Yeah.
it's an empty in a good way.
Right.
So, but they don't know how to describe that emptiness.
And they've
So
never
some
experienced it before because they were
exactly, no,
filling all the
never.
stuff up all the
Yes,
time.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like
Mhm.
you say,
Mhm.
we are carrying and feeling and feeling and feeling, but never letting go. So
Right.
we are so used to the heavy shoulders, we are used to the
Mm.
stress, we used to anxiety, that we don't even know how to live without that stuff. So when
Mhm.
they start feeling and sensing, it's like, oh wow, it's like removing the veil from your
Yep.
eyes. You see everything from a different perspective, different colors. Everything looks totally different. So
Mhm.
it's amazing and it's beautiful to see that transformation happening in such a short amount of time. So
Mhm.
I usually recommend people 5 to 6 sessions, but
Mhm.
again, they start seeing the difference in the first one.
Right away.
Mhm.
And, you kind of referenced more, I guess, some of the emotional things that start to shift. What are some of the physical things that you see
Yes,
shifting for people?
as emotional, obviously that projects into the physical. So
Mhm.
you're gonna start. I had a lady the other day. She had arthritis too,
Mhm.
and her
Mhm.
fingers and toes, everything was kind
Mm.
of like curling and
Yeah.
then swollen. But then she started realizing that she needed to forgive her mom because her mom was
Mm.
driving her crazy, and she blocked completely her childhood's memories. And no more pain. Her joints
Mhm.
the swelling start to decrease, and she had more mobility. She was amazed about that stuff, and it was
Mhm.
only visiting childhood memories and
Mhm.
understanding in particular why she
Mhm.
felt the way she felt towards her mom.
It's so powerful. And, as I mentioned earlier, it's when we're talking about hormones, it's such an important aspect to go back and deal with this trauma that's often hidden from ourselves. Can you talk a little bit about the connection there, particularly, between stress and hormones?
Absolutely, absolutely. The reason people come with anxiety, with stress, obviously that the stress hormones go really high. So
Mhm.
the immune system goes down. So there is no way for you to heal. So like you
Mhm.
say, in your 40s, you start developing so many sickness and hormonal imbalances that you don't even realize where is all that coming from.
Mhm.
So you start addressing with food, with hormones, with therapy, but then there is the component that is the emotional side. So there, I always say is mind, body, emotion, and spirit. And we all
Mhm.
need to address all four for us to be able to be balanced,
Mhm.
completely balanced. So
Mhm.
my side is the emotional part, the spiritual side as
Right.
well. So, but
Right.
obviously there is doctors, there is you like nutritionists, there is
Mhm.
people that work in the other areas. But
Mhm.
as we go holistically working together, helping people, obviously people they feel and they understand and they notice immediately the transformation, the balance, the increase in energy, the increase
Mhm.
in light and love and compassion. And that is something that they not only feel, but they give as they feel, they transmit that to others. So it's
Absolutely.
because we are the human network. So
Yeah.
everything that we feel, we transmit. So that's the
Mhm.
beauty when you see one mom, it's not only you that you're fixing just a mom, you're
Yep.
fixing the entire family. Because
Yeah.
as you teach mom how to cook, how to eat, and it's gonna be giving that gift to everybody around. So it's
Right.
we are raising pretty much the next generation.
Right. And again, it goes back to that we have to fill up our own cup before we're able to give others too, right?
Totally.
There's so much a focus still to this day on women just giving, 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 giving. And our bodies are not meant to do that. Our
No,
hormones do not thrive in that kind of environment. We
no.
need to be able to receive and then we can give from that place.
Yes.
And I like that you put together, emotional and spiritual. And I also subscribe to that idea. I think a lot of times maybe we can see emotional as one aspect, but in reality, the emotions are so deeply connected to our soul, right? And so
Mhm.
whatever kind of belief system that you have around spirituality, if you have anything that sort of connects to the soul, it's this is the lessons that we need to learn in this life, right?
Absolutely.
And the patterns that we want to break so that we can actually enjoy our lives more.
Exactly. To
Yeah.
realize, because obviously to break, we need to realize, bring awareness to those patterns and why are they happening so we can break them. And having those breakthroughs in sessions are incredible. When people realize that stuff, it's like, oh my gosh. And then
Yeah.
after the sessions, I ask them to journal, to
Mhm.
reflect, because
Mhm.
that's the beauty about the journaling. It's not just journaling for the sake of journaling, but it's about learning about
Mhm.
ourselves and having a tangible something in writing,
Mhm.
so people will go back and read and see,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, this is how much I have changed. So it's
Mhm.
a moment of grace for them to be grateful about how they have changed, the time they invested, the money they invested, the gift that they are giving to their own selves, like you say, filling their own
Mhm.
cup, so that way
Mhm.
they can give to everybody else and heal their bodies as well,
Mhm. Mhm.
balance their hormones, removing that stress, removing all that anxiety, all the heightened state of emotions, and
Mhm.
balancing them out. So
Mhm.
everything is going to change no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever find, say somebody has done 5 to 6 sessions with you and they're feeling good, that maybe a couple of years later they need to either do a tune up or there's something else that has arisen for them?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's pretty common. Actually, I recommend people maybe coming after the sessions, the entire
Mhm.
sessions, like maybe every 6 months or a year, because
Mhm.
we obviously live every
Yeah.
day. We have a life, so
Things are coming at us. Yeah.
it's like I always call the emotional spa.
Yeah.
You go to your spa every
Yeah.
month, you do your facials every month because you get the pollutants, you get, and you want to look beautiful. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything is going to be perceived different. You're going to see different things, and even past lives, because sometimes
Mhm.
you have triggers that you don't realize, what's happening, why is this happening if I remove all this baggage at
Mhm.
this moment. So when they come, then all of a sudden they go back, jump to a previous life.
Previous life.
So in previous life there are so many things to address, so that's when we keep the work.
So let's talk about that for a minute because I find that, I love past life stuff and certainly have talked to multiple psychics and intuitives over the years. So I know a lot about, at least a few of my past lives. But for people that aren't sort of aware of that or haven't been introduced to that, in particularly in a therapeutic setting, how does that end up showing up? Is it that people just have memories that they know aren't from this life, or how's that
Yeah,
work?
they
Yeah.
see that depends how you portray it, but I always like to ask them to go like in the witness perspective, so
Mm.
like narrating the situation, because sometimes it's painful to see
Mhm.
what they need to see, so I don't want them to be suffering or raising their hormones or stuff like that
Right,
in the
right,
physical present.
right.
So they see what they need to see. One
Mhm.
time, one example is I had a lady, she came, she had a jaw pain, it was so much in her face, but she couldn't, she went to many doctors, many
Mhm.
people, and just pain medication, because they couldn't find anything wrong, everything was
Mm.
perfectly fine in this
Mhm.
physical body.
Mhm.
But then when we went back, it was in a life, say 1700s or something like that, in Italy. And it was this girl, she was this girl, 12 years old, that she was in a carriage, and the
Mhm.
carriage overturned and she was ejected, and the carriage crushed her jaw, her face. So,
Gotcha.
but she didn't even realize,
Right, right.
So that was so painful in a way for her to see.
Yeah,
But then at the same time, after the session, it was
it was
done. No more
better.
pain.
Yeah,
She had
wow.
no more pain, and it was powerful. So, is this kind of therapy, present life, past life, is powerful.
Pretty cool. So when you are walking somebody through a situation like that where they're going into a past life, are they starting to speak of that past life? Like
Yes.
how does it go? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They start, yeah, because I gave them prompts.
Yeah.
So I asked them, what do you see? Give me, describe the surrounding. Are
Mhm.
you wearing shoes or not? Your skin color, are you female or male? Questions.
Mhm.
So that way they are not as confused.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's easy for them to navigate that life.
Mhm.
So it's no, sometimes it looks like a movie. When I had done mine, they are
Mhm.
like movies. They were like,
Mm.
whoa, what is, and
Mhm.
it's amazing see that stuff and living and
Mhm.
feeling all that stuff, and more understanding why you
Mhm.
feel in this present life the way you feel,
Mhm.
because you are bringing all that stuff from a previous life. So when
Yeah.
you have that understanding that you are not living that life anymore, that it's good for you to bring the knowledge, but
Mhm.
not the pain or the emotional charge. It's the knowledge, so
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
knowledge serves you purposes in this life. And
Mhm.
again, that's going back to remember who you truly are. When
Mhm.
you begin to acquire and remember dust, all that knowledge, and all of the sudden it's like, wow, awakening.
Yeah. It's so amazing when you really think about everything that's contained in our bodies, right? It's,
Yes.
not just this life. And then of course there's the passing down via generationally,
Yes.
ancestrally, all
Yes.
of that kind of stuff too. And so sometimes it's a little mind-blowing, right? Because it's like, how can we even deal with all of these things? But I like that, approach with hypnotherapy that you can the important stuff can come up and you can just kind of
Yes.
process it, move it through, right? And I think that we all need so much of health issues, not just hormone issues, is really that sort of stunted processing system, right?
Yes.
It's just things didn't get a chance to make their way all the
Process.
way through. Yep, yep. So,
And it's having that understanding that brings you the clarity. So
mhm,
you know yourself in a deeper level. So
mhm,
you can accept yourself for who you are. That's the
mhm.
problem. We are nowadays like we don't accept ourselves.
Right.
Women going into their 40s, the fine lines are beginning to appear. Instead of loving them, we criticize them and then inject as
Yeah.
many things. And all of a sudden, the body dysmorphia becomes an issue.
Right.
Because all
Right.
of a sudden we don't recognize the picture from 10 years ago to now. It's like who this person,
Right. Right. Right.
so
Right. Yeah.
more pain, more lack of understanding, more inconformity comes to you. So it's it's
Mm,
it's sad, it's hard.
interesting.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
it's hard. But then, it's because in my practice I see a lot of that body
Mhm.
dysmorphia, lots
Yeah.
of surgeries, lots of facial procedures, stuff like that women, they don't, is and the more they do, the more they reject themselves.
Right.
It's
Right.
incredible. So
It
when they
just yeah.
start coming back and reconnecting, it's incredible, because they start this detox, the emotional, physical detox. So it's mind blowing to see that beautiful transformation.
That's such a important area that I wouldn't have even thought about, right? Because it's such commonplace in our culture now to jump to, plastic surgery, modifications, all those kinds of things. And like, women trying to keep up with other women. And, while certainly no judgment on anybody that's doing any of those things, I never thought about the fact of hypnotherapy really sort of getting in and creating space to make maybe different decisions around that, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
you aren't moving from the sort of outward thing of, okay, I see all this around me. It's like a lot of times women are almost outside of themselves, to do these things to sort of keep up with the world around them versus
Hmm.
coming back in. And something like breast implant illness is a fascinating thing, right? Because
Yes.
we're starting to see such a major increase in it. And I think it's probably a major increase in diagnosing it, that these things have been happening for long periods of time. And while certainly, women that have maybe lost their breast to cancer, I can completely understand wanting to get breast implants. But yeah, to sort of have that body reaction happening, that's also a callback to themselves too,
Yes. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so, yeah, I think that's a really cool twist on the hypnotherapy that I hadn't even thought about before. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's just
Absolutely.
coming back
Hmm.
to yourself again and again. I love it.
Yes, yes, and that's so many, so many things, like you say, the ancestral pain. I
Yeah.
have gone in hypnosis to back to great grandparents,
Mhm. Mhm.
visiting their memories, because everything
Mhm.
is encoded in your DNA. You can go
Right.
back and find all those memories, and all of a
Right.
sudden you see people that you didn't even know, but
Yeah.
you recognize that they are your ancestors, and
Yeah.
how they suffer, the things they lived, the suffering they had so much in different ages and time.
Yep.
So you begin to understand where you're coming from, and
Yeah.
again, you see yourself with more compassion, and you
Yep.
understand them instead of criticizing them or judge them. So you see
Mm.
them so in a
Mhm.
different way
Mhm.
completely. So that's the point when you begin to understand that you reflect into others what you don't like
Yeah.
about you, but that's something that you don't understand at the
Yeah.
moment. But when
Right.
you see it, it's like, oh my,
That's why. Yep.
that's the reason why. So it makes you humble. It
Yeah.
makes you understanding. It
Yep.
makes you loving. So
Yeah.
it's
Oh.
different.
So when do you do hypnotherapy with someone else, or do you do self hypnosis?
No, I do both.
You
I
do
do
both.
both.
Okay.
Yes, I do
Yeah.
both. And it's something that I always go to.
Mhm.
Maybe every 2 years, I
Mhm.
go and visit because it's important. It's
Yeah.
important for my growth
Yeah.
to see. We are always in a different place in time, so we are moving forward. So the
Mhm.
idea is to find clues. If it's any way to for me to move forward in a different way. If it's anything that I need to know, it's anything that
Mhm.
needs to be given to me, because
Mhm.
sometimes what I do is connecting to higher self too.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
my version of myself in a different state, heightened state of my soul.
Mhm.
So things are given to me,
Mhm.
clues, stuff, that
Mhm.
only you know, and you
Mhm.
know exactly when to use them, those
Mm.
tools or those gifts that are given to you. So it's important to do that
Mhm.
as well,
Mhm.
and that I do.
Yeah. And I think that that's really important for people to hear and understand too, because I think, one of the things culturally too on really anything health related is this, 30 days to whatever this body, or you do this approach for supporting your mental health like 4 times and you're good to go forever, and that's just like you won't maintain muscle if you stop going to the gym. All of these things are continuous in a way, right? It's
Totally. Mhm.
it's just like in certainly, you can have some power packed times where you take care of a lot, but you're gonna need to do tune-ups, as you
Yeah,
mentioned
all the
earlier.
time. Mind,
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
spirit, and soul. We all need to be in that communion all the time. As
Right.
long as we live in this physical
Yep.
body, that's
Yep.
something that we need to do.
Yeah, and
Is
especially
That's
in a world that's, like, so hectic, right? And so
totally.
inundated all the time.
Hmm.
So, do you just work one-on-one, or do you do group programs too?
I have done group programs.
Mhm, mhm,
And it's beautiful because when I do group programs,
mhm.
I see a lot of pain resurfacing, but
Yeah,
at the same
mhm.
time, it's a lot of transformation. So
Right.
people at the end, they talk about the people, commenting about their experiences. It's
Yeah,
amazing when you see that is fulfilling. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let people know how they can contact you.
Yes, they can go to www.monica, Monica,
Mhm.
Obando, Obando.com. And I am having right now a program called Overcoming the Toxic Mother program, and
Ooh,
the Overcoming the Toxic Mother trauma program.
nice.
So
Wow.
this program is geared to daughters of toxic mothers.
Wow.
So, because we all, again, as I said at the beginning, we are women. We need to remove all the emotional baggage, all that negative charge that we have created by our own mothers. And if we
Yeah.
become mothers, we are going to be the best, the best. We need to
Oh,
just cut all those chains of pain that we
yeah.
have been carrying, that has been, for so long, ancestral pain, and we
Yeah.
no longer need that stuff.
Oh, I
So
love that for so many expecting women. I mean, that is
yes,
just
yes,
woo, yeah, talk about
hmm,
powerful going in and really setting
yes,
yourself up for, a good, successful
correct.
relationship, yeah, and
Yes,
raising
with
a
your
good child.
kids, and
Yeah,
stopping that chain. No more
yeah,
pain in the
yeah,
generations to come. Rising
wow,
the future.
yeah, that's amazing. And then also people can find you on Instagram,
On
correct?
Instagram,
Yep,
yes, at
mhm,
Mobando Coach.
perfect. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. Such a good conversation. I love that we were able to, it's not just about sort of hypnotherapy and in this moment, it encompasses all of these different aspects of who you are. And I think that that's so cool, and hopefully mind opening for people that haven't necessarily gone there before that are listening to the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christine, for
Yeah.
inviting me and allowing me to share
Yeah,
this gift to the world.
absolutely. All right, you guys, thank you for being here, and I will see you next week.